In truth, I'm not sure if the content of this video will be well received or not. It's what I suspect is a bit countercultural and might seem abrasive to many people. But I think it's important and true and has the potential to be helpful to many people as they set out to accomplish their muscle growth and fat loss goals. So I'm going to throw it out there and see how it all pans out. From my experience as a physique coach, I've observed that many people seem to have adopted what I think is the wrong mindset when aiming to transform their bodies through accomplishing muscle growth and fat loss. I'm talking about a particular mindset that I think has seeped in from our modern 2026 culture. It does come from a well-intended place, but I think at the end of the day, it causes more harm than good. In this video, while showing you footage from my latest full body gym workout, I'm going to shed light on exactly what this mindset is, why it probably ought not to be adopted, at least not in the extreme, and what mindset I would consider adopting instead to accomplish your muscle growth and fat loss goals. Again, I'm not sure how well this will all be received, but from my experience, at the very least, it's worth thinking about. And at best, it could be the door that leads you to finally accomplishing the muscle growth and fat loss results you've always wanted. Before we get started, if you find this video to be helpful, please consider hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. It really helps me out. Okay, let's dive in. The unhelpful mindset I'm talking about is taking what should be considered an inherently good mindset and taking it too far. It's taking the principle of being kind to yourself to too far of an extreme. Being kind to yourself is important. In fact, I think it's essential. We're all human beings with human dignity, and as such, I think we ought to treat ourselves with genuine kindness. Again, the real danger is taking that too far. I think that our modern culture reinforces that we do this to the point of it being not only unhelpful, but even transforming it into a kind of unkindness. Bear with me here while I explain. See, when it comes to accomplishing either muscle growth or fat loss, there is some discomfort that's involved. And both of those goals involve spending your time and energy. Dieting for fat loss means being hungry sometimes, saying no to eating junk, being more mindful in social eating settings, prepping and planning meals ahead of time, and so on. Building muscle involves working out in the gym consistently and hard, and going out of your way to push your limits and experience real physical and mental discomfort. Now, in 2026, we're constantly being marketed products and services that are meant to make our lives as convenient as possible. Not to say I'm opposed to this or that in itself is inherently bad, because I don't think it is. There's a lot of good that comes from the convenience of common marketing products like smartphones. They are a way to connect with people anywhere in the world and are an incredible tool for learning, among many other positives. But at the same time, they can open the door up to laziness and reinforce this cultural false ideal that we should chase what feels good and that we ought to seek out the easy way to meet whatever end we're aiming for, like ordering food online, leaving us not having to cook or plan out home-cooked meals. That in itself isn't bad. It just indirectly reinforces this concept of being kind to yourself through avoiding inconvenience, difficulty, and or discomfort. Of course, finding the path of least resistance isn't a new concept. It's something we've been aiming to do for thousands of years. It's just that now, in 2026, with our technological advancements, we've become very good at it. The problem is, avoiding challenges in favor of easily meeting some end just doesn't mix great with accomplishing muscle growth or fat loss, at least not completely. Now, when it comes to either muscle growth or fat loss, I would argue that it is prudent to approach both goals through being efficient and to not intentionally make either process more difficult than it needs to be. Finding and enacting the efficient route is, I think, the ideal. But even so, the efficient road is still a hard one much of the time. For example, hard training is an inevitable part of building muscle, whether you're being efficient or not. You just can't avoid it. I think that the culture has made many of us resistant to doing and experiencing difficult things, to accept and embrace real challenges and discomfort. And it's through having that resistance that the tendency of being too kind to yourself is taken to too far of an extent. When I say be too kind to yourself in the context of fat loss and muscle growth, I mean doing things like being too lackadaisical about sticking with a planned dietary approach, not doing sets to the point of real discomfort, skipping workout sessions when feeling slightly under the weather, and so on, to avoid discomfort, inconvenience, and even pain. Again, our culture often seems to reinforce the prospect that we act in accordance with being kind to ourselves, or to be what I think could even be best described as sometimes toxically compassionate with ourselves. But it's that kind of mentality that holds us back from making the kind of progress we really want to make. If we allow ourselves to cheat on our diets in favor of being kind to ourselves, we won't lose fat. If we don't train hard enough in an attempt to avoid discomfort, to be kind to ourselves, we won't build muscle. And ironically, in the grand scheme of things, that's not actually being kind to ourselves at all. Not if it leads us to act in a way that sets us to never accomplish our most important goals. Rather than being assimilated into this common cultural mindset, I wanted to share another approach that, from my experience, is far more likely to lead you to getting the results you really want. It's something that I try to implement both for myself and also that I teach my clients. It's a simple concept. I'll explain it. Transforming your physique through muscle growth and fat loss to look stronger, leaner, and healthier is not the norm nowadays. In fact, almost 3/4 of Americans are either overweight or obese. So truthfully, being in great shape is outside of the norm. What that means is, if you want to meet the end that is being lean, strong, and healthy through fat loss and muscle growth, you'll need to do things that aren't considered normal, as in things that aren't what most other people are doing. Most people don't go out of their way to work out consistently and hard, and most people don't plan their meals ahead of time and stick with their chosen dietary approaches to lose body fat. And most people don't embrace and even seek out the challenge or even discomfort that comes from walking the path to accomplishing those goals. Most people nowadays, and I truly know this is a big generalization, but I really think it's true, go too easy on themselves or even coddle themselves too much in an attempt to be too kind to themselves. But again, because accomplishing a lean, strong, and healthy physique through muscle growth and fat loss is not the norm, it means doing things that aren't the norm to get there. And that's just it. That's the mindset approach. To embrace and do the things that are needed to be done, but that aren't considered to be the norm. And that includes being too kind to yourself, something that has the potential to only hold you back. So the next time you're at a social event where they're serving only chips, pizza, soda, and beer, instead of caving on your planned diet in favor of being kind to yourself, like what most people would probably do, instead consider doing what's outside of the norm. Eat a planned lower calorie meal beforehand so you don't overeat pizza and beer at the social event. Or don't eat anything at the event in favor of waiting to eat your planned meal afterwards. Or shoot, bring your own planned meal with you to the event and eat it there while everyone else drinks beer and eats pizza. I know it's not what most people would do, but being lean, strong, and healthy isn't the status that most people find themselves with. And ironically, despite perhaps not initially seeming like that's the kindest way to treat yourself, since it's what actually leads you to your goals, one might argue that it's actually the kindest way to treat yourself. And that's it. From what I've seen, many people fail to accomplish their muscle growth and fat loss goals from taking the principle of being kind to yourself and taking it to too far of an extreme. Although it comes from a place of good intent, it ultimately holds people back from transforming their physique the way they really want, and ironically could be considered an unkindness rather than a kindness. A truly beneficial mindset, on the other hand, is to understand that becoming lean, strong, and healthy through muscle growth and fat loss is not the cultural norm. And in understanding that accomplishing something that is not within the realm of the cultural norm, it means doing things that are outside of the cultural norm. That means accepting and embracing challenges, discomfort, and sometimes even pain. This might seem to come across as being the opposite of being kind to yourself at a surface level, but I would argue that it's actually truly the way to be kind to yourself. At this point, I would love to know what you think. Let me know your comments, insights, questions, personal experiences in the comment section below. Before this video comes to a close, I want to quickly let you know about the work that I do. When I'm not making YouTube videos or Instagram content, I work full-time as an online physique coach, where I help my clients to accomplish their muscle growth and fat loss goals by optimizing their approach to strength training and nutrition, and I coach them through the process. I've been doing this work for over 7 years and love helping my clients to not only transform their bodies, but ultimately their lives. If you've been considering getting some help with accomplishing your own physique goals, feel free to hit the link in the description below, where you can learn a little bit more about the work that I do and how it can help you. You can even use that link to schedule a free video consultation with me. If you have any questions about my coaching or how I can help you, just email me at sam@jadeathletics.ca. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.